Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
Walmart Business saves you time, money, and hassle, which means you can focus on what really matters. Like putting the money you save back into what you do. Spending more time training your team, filling orders, and finding new clients. Anything and everything, right down to, oh, that's one, choosing the best hold music. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can finish the bachelor's degree you started in 19 months and under $19,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Imagine that this line represents a time, present 1985, future, past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985. Alternate you, me, and Einstein. Reality for everyone else.
Today, we welcome an accomplished actress, screenwriter, and director known for her roles in films like While You Were Sleeping, Universal Soldier, and Happy Texas, as well as her lead role as Dr. Samantha Waters in the NBC crime drama Profiler, which earned her a Saturn Award nomination for Best Actress. Many of you, like me, may know her best as the villainous Agent June Stahl in the FX crime drama Sons of Anarchy, a role so iconic I named one of my sons after a character from the series. Today, we're thrilled to discuss Allie's latest venture, her debut as an author with The Light Runner, a thrilling novel filled with twists, turns, and journeys into parallel worlds. Perfect for our show. Please join me in welcoming Allie Walker to Infinite Rabbit Hole. Welcome, Allie.
Yay, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. I flew back from New York yesterday where I did a couple things for the book, and I'm excited. You know, it's cool to start this whole journey. It's pretty different than what I'm used to, so it's exciting.
Yeah, I saw you were on Good Morning America.
Yeah, I went on Good Morning America. They were super nice. It was really nice to be there and talk about the book and, you know, how I'm changing things up and just, continuing to create and have fun.
I was like, wow, she's gonna come from Good Morning America to Infinite Rabbit Hole. She's like,
come on.
What is this?
It's a corporate takeover. GMA wants you. No, they're super nice.
We've introduced ourselves multiple times. Jeff, you good with skipping us?
Yeah, everybody knows me.
All right, so. Good. All right. Allie, we're going to jump right in because we don't have you all night. So we're just going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Light Runner, You're an author
Yes.
now. Congratulations.
Yeah.
2 days ago, right? On the 6th?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
That's exciting. So where, you know what, let's start off with a, can you give us a brief synopsis? What is your book about?
So the book is, well, it's about a lot of things actually, but it basically is a metaphysical thriller, and it centers around the character of Dr. Ella Kramer, who's a young psychiatrist working at a psychiatric hospital, and she's treating a pretty high-profile patient, Captain Oliver Haskell, whose wife's just been murdered, and he's checked himself into Bainbridge Psychiatric Hospital because he's distraught. And Ella's supposed to treat him, and as she kind of sort of untangles, what he's been through and what's going on, her reality starts to sort of unravel. And it's very twisted, very, kind of crazy, but she starts to learn to trust her gut and define reality in the way that she knows what it is. And she finds out the truth about the murder. And it's just, it's you go down a rabbit hole because it's a really interesting, I think it's interesting. The characters in the psychiatric ward begin to tell her the truth about how reality really works, how energy really works. And she starts to listen to them because they're warning her. And, she feels like she's going mad, but she ultimately prevails and figures things out. So
that's pretty awesome.
Much in a nutshell.
So this is going to be a series?
I have 3 books in that series. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's called the Reality series because I was always really interested in the question of reality. Like, why do you know things you don't know how you know? Why are some people psychic? Why can astrology? Just things that I've always been around in my life, and just kind of wondering if you really listen to your gut. As an actor, I always trusted my gut because I wasn't educated as an actress. I was educated as a scientist. And I had to and there were things in science that didn't make sense to me. And I always wondered, and I kind of kept them in the back of my mind and kind of used them in this book. But as an actress, I trained a lot, but I was working. And I just trusted my gut. I really learned to trust my gut. And so it's sort of always this constant battle between your senses and sort of your mind in this world. And I just said, well, why is all that we see, it's the unseen that was kind of interesting to me.
That's interesting. What type of science were you?
Well, I got my degree in biology, but it was actually biochemistry. I worked at a genetic engineering company, and I sequenced DNA. I was a grunt, because I was just a BA. I had my bachelor's, and I was working for the PhDs. But it's cool because when I was there, this is like a million years ago, you guys, but we worked on the enzyme TPA, which they use in hospitals to break up blood clots in heart attack patients. So I sequenced a lot of that gene. They told me what to do, but I did the grunt work. So it was pretty fun, pretty interesting.
That is pretty interesting. Honestly, I could probably talk to you for hours about that kind of stuff. I'm the conspiracy guy, right? So when I hear the words like gene editing and stuff, I'm like, bro, okay, here we go. Let's go. But
watch your telomeres, guys. Just watch your telomeres.
That's what I'm saying.
Looks like Skeeter from the chat is buying the books now. I just went ahead and posted your link.
Oh, cool.
And
thank you.
Looks like all right.
Skeeter, your name is in my book. I hope this isn't offensive to you, but my horse's name as a kid was Skeeter. My grandparents had horses in southern New Mexico. I grew up in New Mexico, and that is so funny, Skeeter. I hope you enjoyed the book. I was like, whoa, enjoy the book. He was a big old bay, great horse.
That's awesome. Good stuff. So that's cool. DNA sequencing. There, we've talked about sequencing quite a bit here on the show. We had talked about, I don't know if you're into Bigfoot at all, but Dr. Malcolm Ketchum, she was leading this whole push about sequencing Bigfoot DNA.
Oh, wow.
And trying to prove the existence of an upright walking primate in the woods of North America through sequencing of unknown DNA through hair and scat samples found throughout the the
Oh, how
the
cool.
through North America. Yeah, because we do have a collection of scat and hair that we can't align with anything. We can
Oh,
somewhat correlate it to primate, but we can't match it to anything in
oh,
particular.
wow, that's so weird. I've never even heard of that. That's great.
Yeah, her name's
Cool.
Dr. Melba Ketchum. She's kind of controversial in some circles, but it is some very interesting stuff. But yeah,
Oh.
so I could also talk to you for hours about just sequencing as well.
Well, I don't know if I can talk to you guys. I don't really remember much. It was a while back.
Have you ever looked into like the CRISPR-Cas9 stuff and everything?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Well, then we'll just stick to parallel worlds then.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's something
Better.
I'm kind of interested in. Like, so like I know your novel's kind of about, you know, realities and like these types of things, and especially when, you know, when I hear you talk, I obviously haven't read the book yet, but
Mhm.
you know, when you talk about these people like the schizophrenics and these people with multiple personality disorders, and like they're explaining to the character in the book, you know, how reality is actually working. Like what got you thinking that way? Like, what are you interested in that type of thing?
Yeah, no, so I have one of my father's sisters was bipolar, and she'd gone through electric shock therapy, and, you know, back in the day, and it, you know, was not a pretty thing, I don't think. And at least I'm getting this from, you know, my cousin, and my mother had told me some things, and then his brother was mentally retarded and had to be institutionalized as he was older, and I've always I worked with some foster kids who were had some issues that were in, you know, group homes for special needs kids, and I've often wondered, because, you know, so many people that I've met who are neurodivergent or autistic, or who they know things, and you can feel like their intelligence and the love. They have a lot of love. I know that sounds really weird. They're very loving, so they can be very loving souls. And these people, so these ideas that they have and these things that they say, you know, one of the characters in the book, I think Malachi puts it best, and he says, just because they're hearing things that you can't access, just because they see things that you can't understand, doesn't make them any less real. And I kind of always, you know, sort of went with that. I mean, reality is what you make of it, isn't it? So I kind of went on that tangent.
There's so many fascinating things, especially when it comes to like the human mind. I don't know. Have you ever looked into
test me on all these things I don't know anything about?
No. Have you ever looked into like the split brain stuff? Dr. Michael Gazzaniga looked into it back, I believe, in the 80s, about how the right hemisphere seems to has its own separate consciousness, and patients of epilepsy were getting their corpus callosum, that little bridge of
yeah, no, what the corpus callosum is. It's very interesting, because the left anterior insula is supposed to be the seat of consciousness, and I use that in the book as well. You know, because
Really?
they found, I mean, yeah, one of the tenets of the book is that there's an energy that's swept through the universe, basically, and it takes out life. It's not death, because death is actually part of life.
Yep.
It's anti-life, and it's a shadowverse descending in the time of Aquarius as everything becomes one. And I found it really interesting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in a business with a lot of, you know, some would say very narcissistic people, and some very cold, you know, and you look at the top of the food chain in this country and other, you know, in the world, and you can see a lot of people who have no empathy or zero empathy, and it's corruption and greed, and they consume. And so I use the parts of the brain. It's kind of interesting in the book that these people are actually almost like aliens, you know, walking around destroying life itself. So it's interesting that you brought that up. Yeah, you have to read the book. You have to read the book.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
But I
Trust
use
me.
that too. I mean, I touch base on a lot of things, you know, in service to the story that I've created. And that's one of the things, because, you know, I mean, psychopaths' brains are usually pretty messed up. I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but they've usually been abused so badly, or they've had such bad drug addiction problems. They're very different. The brain's where it's at if you want to try to figure out, I think, what's going on with people.
The brain is so mysterious. It
It's
really
amazing.
is.
It's
So
amazing.
before we started recording, we were all just kind of chatting a little bit, and if it gives too much away from the book, please feel free to not dive into it. But we started talking a little bit about quantum, and do you mind expanding into how your book ties into quantum physics or quantum mechanics at all?
I don't want to get too much into it. There's a mad physicist who, quote unquote, mad, right, physicist in the hospital who starts to explain time and starts to explain what's really going on. And I will tell you from my own experience that I've had have you ever had a gut feeling or a premonition? And at different points, I have felt like it's me telling me things. One of my very good friends is a psychic in New York. One of my best friends is an astrologer, and the things they say really resonate and they happen. And I always thought that was so weird. Or I would think about somebody and they'd call me 5 seconds later, or I would, have an image of someone when someone just said their name, and I'd have an image of that person. And there's little things that people have all the time, or how somebody's not on the up and up, or how somebody's going to try to get, or they're great, And so I kind of incorporated that. I'm sorry, I'm kind of diverging now, but I've always thought that there are several levels that human beings could be playing on. At least this is my writer brain, and that perhaps that gut feeling is you further down the road looking back and telling you where you are now, what's going on. So when it gets into quantum, the book is a bit deterministic, I think, at the end. You have to really read it because I don't want to give too much away, because I feel like I'll start I'll start going somewhere I shouldn't. And I did a spoiler at a panel I did, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, So, but it's interesting. I mean, quantum mechanics, my dad was a nuclear physicist, and I never studied physics beyond, a college level. But it's pretty interesting, that it's everything that.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant. 9.5 plus pH, now in cans.
Refreshing.
Made for every way you move.
Should I run a marathon?
Let's start with finishing that water. Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant, now in a sleek can. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why the new MyBiz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with MyBiz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit Verizon.com/business to get started today. New lines only. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes auto pay and paper-free billing and promotional discount. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge. Applicable add-ons, prices, and terms apply. Guarantee applies to base monthly rate and stated discounts only. Add-on prices additional. Offers end June 30th, 2025.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
That actually observing something makes it real. And I found that kind of fascinating.
The observation effect is wild.
I mean, it's just insane. In my book, I deal basically with simple things like the Heisenberg principle or something like that, which is very simple. But yeah, they're really they're really finding some really cool stuff.
It really is.
It's just kind of amazing, actually. And black holes, I'm very interested in those, and how they, I never really understood certain concepts, and then you see them applied to these systems, and it's kind of fascinating. There's another one I was listening to about how, how the Big Bang is actually the end of expansion of the universe, and it just suddenly stopped expanding, and now it's contracted. It's just interesting, anyway. I'm sort of a dilettante. I like all kinds of things, I like to read all kinds of things, and it was really fun to do that. And yeah,
but you fit well into the infinite rabbit hole then, because
well, it's funny because a rabbit hole is a very prominent feature of my book too. So yeah, I really hope you read it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry, man.
I was just going to say, this is something I tend to ask people who are in your industry, especially ones who have been in your industry for a long time, right? And you kind of alluded to it a little bit ago. What is your experience with some of these people? You don't have to say names or anything, obviously, but as the conspiracy-minded person that I am, I tend to think that a lot of the people in like film and all these things, like there's something else going on, right? Whether it's like occult beliefs or they're aliens, whatever it is. I mean, do you have anything that you've come across that you're like, whoa?
I get, no. I know a lot of really nice people in this industry. I mean, you have to realize you're talking about artists who are some of the strongest, most free-thinking people you'll ever meet, So no, I don't prescribe to Illuminati. I don't prescribe to any of that. I think people, and look, I'm not saying it can't, whatever. I don't know everything, but I was a working class actress, and I know a lot of people, but no, I did my job. It was more like I met nothing but great people, but there's some gnarly people too, sure. And I tend to listen to my gut and not get involved with gnarly people, and so I was very lucky. But most of the people I know in the business are good people, really good people, hardworking people, who, when you're, especially for women, you're an actress, you make it, every audition I went on, there were a minimum of 100 other people on that audition, right? So you're slugging it out. And I think sometimes when I get hear too much of the cult stuff or anything like that, it discredits the hard work people do. You know what I'm saying? It kind of takes away from, sleeping on floors, sleeping on couches, waiting tables. That's what we did, and working hard.
For sure.
So I don't go down that road.
Hey, fair enough. I figured I'd ask, had the opportunity to ask.
Well,
I asked Tommy Chong.
Look, a lot of people have a lot. Look, people have a lot of interest in things like that, and they see a lot more than I probably do. I'm pretty insulated in my world, but I know for myself and for the people that I've worked with, and I've had pretty good experiences. I've had bad experiences with some people, absolutely. I think you can boil it all down to greed. I think it's what we're seeing in the world. I mean, everything can be boiled down to the 7 deadly sins, and it's like, basically it's greed. When people get greedy, things get bad,
For sure.
But I've been really lucky, so I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good that, we get a positive take on that. It's I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just haven't seen it. So, cool.
I only speak from my experience, and that's all I can speak from.
So where did the interest in the whole parallel worlds concept come from? Is there a point of origin where you're like, this is very interesting?
It's not really, there were just, I think a lot of little things along the way. I think, I think knowing things that I didn't know how I knew, I think was a big one. And I kind of had this weird, I have had some weird dreams, and they've, kind of come true. And I've had situations where I really did feel like I was looking down at myself and making sure, it was like I knew this, like a lot of deja vu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I thought, who's to say that, I'm not so arrogant as to say that this is all there is. and not at least prescribe to the notion that there's several ways, I mean, you'll read the book, you'll see what I'm saying, but there's several ways to getting to the end result. I mean, I do believe that things are sort of deterministic overall, but I do believe there's several ways and several outcomes, not outcomes, but several paths to get there. And that's kind of what I'm putting forward, and I think sometimes if you're quiet, you can get information, or you can understand things in a different way. And I mean, now there's no matter now, I mean, it's like really interesting, right? Everything's constantly changing. So
Yeah.
if you look at like one of the things I use is the Heisenberg principle, uncertainty principle, like you can tell where a particle is, or you can tell its momentum, but you can't tell both at the same time, right?
Correct.
So from that, I went, well, that's because they're in different dimensions. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm when you're looking at its point, it was, and now it's here, but it's in this other, and you can't find it. So I thought, well, let me just extrapolate that to us, and I thought that was interesting. So and I don't know. I think there's a lot we don't understand. I think there's a lot we don't.
I think
look at.
if I were to just take a peek under the curtain of the future, I think we're going to find that and this is kind of me getting a little bit more woo than I typically would, but I think that we're going to find that we're more quantum than we typically believe that we are, and I believe that our consciousness is more of a quantum thing than typical.
That's what I agree with that. I think that, to be, I think we're all energy. That's how I look at everything. Everything is energy, and I think when energy, we were just talking about what is observable. So sometimes energy, I think, wants to observe itself, and it does so through us. You know what I mean?
We had just done an episode where we were talking about the law of conservation of mass and the law of conservation of energy, and how neither can be created nor destroyed, but they can only change forms.
Transform, yeah.
Energy can turn into mass over long periods of times, and mass can change into energy, and that happens rather quickly. So we were talking about the concept of death, and where does the consciousness go after death? Well, if everything that we know of as of right now is made up of either energy or matter, your body is obviously a matter. What would your consciousness be? You can't hold your consciousness, right? So you would think that your consciousness would fall underneath the energy side of the things. So does your energy float away, and does that kind of explain the concept of near-death experiences that people report, where they can look down and see?
Yeah. I think that's right. And I think I have, at a couple points in my life, felt like I was watching myself in life, kind of like that. And I was like, how do I know that? How am I seeing, and it was crazy, actually. And I think that's valid. I do. And I think, it's one of the greatest quotes. Who the heck said this? You guys will probably know. Said, you don't, what is it? You don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. And I think that kind of explains it,
Yeah. I don't know who said it, but I understand it. I definitely
understand. You know what I mean?
It.
It's like, this is matter, So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I've always said this. I mean, you're an artist. I'm an artist. I'm a musician, and I think that being in that flow state, whether you're writing music or you're writing, you get in that flow state, and to me, that's when most of that, call it fringe information, whatever you want to say, that's when it comes to me, right? So
yeah, it's like creativity. It's just your creativity. You're just, I always kind of refer to it as channeling when I write, because I'm just like, I don't know what, I'm just kind of getting all the information out of my whatever onto the page, and I when they ask, well, how did you do that? Did you research? No, I just kind of did it. I just kind of got quiet and it kind of came forward, and I think a lot of writers and artists feel that way,
Awesome. Well, Allie, I know that we don't have you all night, so why don't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find everything Allie Walker. Where can they follow you? Where can they come visit all of your work? Website handles, all that good stuff.
Okay. Go to AllieWalkerOfficial.com, and you can go to Amazon and look up The Light Runner, 3 words, The Light Runner by Allie Walker. And I hope you guys like it. It's on Barnes and Noble too.
I pinned the Amazon link in the Twitch chat for anybody who's listening right now. I know that I've already got confirmation that there's been a few purchases tonight. I
think you're crazy. What are these people saying? No, I don't. What? No, Shadow Band, I don't. I really don't. I'm cool with whatever. I've been around a long time. This is not my first, But you got to be. Love is the number one energy. Love is the frequency we all need to be on. That's 100%. The frequency everybody needs to get on.
100%. No, we like to give each other crap in the chat.
That's so mean.
This was a very tame episode. This was very nice.
Sorry.
No.
I'm an old mom. What do you want from me?
Allie, this was an absolute pleasure. I really do appreciate you taking the time and visiting us. This was great. I can't wait. I got my copy showing up tomorrow in the mail.
Cool.
And I'll write you a nice review. And
you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Okay.
This episode will go live next Monday, not tomorrow, but the Monday after that, and we'll post it on all our socials and tag you. Once the recording is done, if you could just hang back for just a second so I can make sure I have all the audio downloaded.
Okay.
Jeff, you have anything to put out before we go?
No, I appreciate you coming on, Allie. It's like I said, it's an honor to meet you. This is pretty sick.
Sweet of you guys to have me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. For those of you that are subscribed to our Patreon, the Ryo Tatsuki episode will go live June 11th. All right. That has been all. That has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you right here in the next back and forth of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking out the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. If you're looking for more of our stuff, head on over to infiniterabbithole.com, where you can find links to all the podcast players that we are available on, and even our video platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. While you're there, make sure to check out all the links for our socials and hit that follow so you know when all the new stuff from our podcast comes out. And until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Goodbye.